Or to do an English version of that again. Like, literally, I'm still in some sort of aftershock of realizing the utter bullshit that I have been subjected to throughout the entirety of the last decade, and sort of how inherently irrational and outright psychotic people, especially including treating medical doctors, have been towards me. Most and foremost, the orthopedic doctor from 2017, who now claims that she literally wouldn't have conducted a surgery because a surgery could have potentially caused arthrosis. However, she did not operate an impingement, and not operating any osteopathic impingement means that there's constantly bone rubbing on bone, and those arthrosis will definitely happen. And sort of, she also sent a copy of her file to the thing there, and in that she literally always writes, "Oh, patient says that she's severely depressed. Patient says that she feels entirely hopeless because she can no longer do any sports, because she feels that her left ankle is very weak, etc., etc." And then simultaneously, that imagining whatever you might think that I wanted to insert here, decided to not operate it. And then simultaneously, that orthopedic doctor at one point even sort of semi knelt before me whilst observing my ankle and was like, "Yeah, I fully understand, and I feel oh so sorry for you." And, and essentially sort of pretended to be all empathic and sympathetic, and oh, I feel oh so sorry for you, but I'm now just gonna keep crippling you whilst pretending that that's the best for you. In addition to that comes the fact that my own parents literally crippled me, and that for essentially in over a decade, I have almost consistently been trapped in people who systematically gaslit me, who irrationally accused me and who consistently told me to be entirely indifferent to my physical health, reputation, career perspectives, and any sort of life perspectives, as well as to be completely indifferent with how people are towards me, to be completely indifferent to whether people are kind or cruel towards me. And hey, little hint, people have almost exclusively been cruel towards me. And like so many people have been so inherently split in their behavior towards me. Especially that from the instant onwards where I started to trust them and where they had become to me important people. And where I had sort of started to think like, oh, I've somewhat arrived in a sort of safe-ish environment. I have some actual friends. I have someone or just anybody who can sort of take some fraction of the place in my life that a functional family, a relationship partner, or genuine close friends take in any healthily connected person's life. And like every time that I thought that I'd sort of found that person then went utterly zero empathy on me, and in some cases started to cause physical injuries to me. But back to medical things, to purely ankle medical things. So when this 2017 orthopedic doctor had absolutely irrationally focused on my walk and had done a sort of scan of the sole of my foot and how weight was distributed there, and then prescribed me insoles and things. So sort of whilst I was complaining about the fact that in one direction my ankle literally that my ankle literally did not have any dorsal flexion, that any dorsal flexive mobility was blocked by an osteopathic impingement. And instead she prescribed me physiotherapy, gave me insoles, and absolutely irrationally then focused on how much better my walk would have become. Yeah, for fuck's sake, I didn't intend to walk walking on flat surfaces is, it's a sort of basic thing that people generally should be able to do. However, that wasn't exactly what was important to me. For fuck's sake, I'm not some pensioner that needs to barely move. I'm a person who spent decades over decades putting effort in for various sporty endeavors. And I literally spent so many hours. I literally spent so many hours increasing the strength and mobility of my ankles and sort of working towards being able to do a full squat. And then it's just like, yeah, now you've been crippled. Now you have to accept things as they are. Now we're going to deny you medical treatment and will systematically cause further injuries to you. It didn't stop there. Then the ganglion happened, despite the fact that I, again, in the not normal way, differently to the normal, was injury preventative and stretched a lot and did everything reasonably possible to prevent injuries during and after climbing. And instead, I was the only person in that freaking climbing wall to get an injury. And like back topic, irrationally focusing on my walk. My sort of standard flat surface walk was something the physiotherapist whom I went to late 2023 and early 2024 also did. Like sort of, I literally felt as if I was in some episode of Germany's Next Top Model. Sort of, oh, okay, now walk up and down again. Yeah, this looks really smooth, but I'm not entirely sure. Can you walk up and down again? And that almost every single physiotherapy sessions. And then he didn't give me any ankle-specific exercises either, but mostly sort of general leg muscle building exercises, some more connected to his sport, which was football. And then, in addition to that, orthopedic and potentially operating surgeons completely irrationally kept asserting that my ankle joint would be entirely destroyed and kept irrationally talking to me as if everything was a lost cause. And especially that sick doctor who'd operated it. Then literally, as I told him that if he thinks that my ankle is a lost cause and I ought to settle for being able to walk at most and nothing else for the rest of my life, that he then might as well give me a bullet, as in the sense of it's a German saying for to. Psh. And to that he like, well, oh, but this isn't true. You have so many more things that you can live for. And sort of then talk to me as if he knew me and as if there were so many great things to live for. Yeah, what, to live as a fucking ill charity case? To suffer? To spend each and every day begging to be dead? And to then be terrorized because I dared to not be grateful for being systematically crippled and for suffering and for being all alone without a single person who cares about me in the slightest? Well, simultaneously, I somehow get the negative energy and aggression for sort of everything bad. And for everything that people have done it in my proximity talk about in terms of reckless behavior and other shit. And simultaneously, other people then consistently make I statements about all the good traits and progress that they apparently would be making and somewhat steal what I've worked towards from me that way. And in all this, I have consistently been alone. For fuck's sake, like, I was literally forced to live with parents again who then systematically crippled me, whom I already had spoken up against. Then I kept speaking up against them, distanced myself, and everybody consistently told me that the people who had systematically crippled me apparently wouldn't love me. The thing is that there already were so few people in my life who might ever sort of genuinely trusted on any level, and whoever sort of made me feel as if they cared about me in the slightest. Hey, apparently nobody gives a shit. But at the very least, not a single person has been, and to the present moment is in any form there for me. In terms of actually talking to me, communicating with me, and also sort of communicating that they actually want me as somebody in their life, and not just as person to sort of systematically hurt and then discard and then throw away. Or to systematically hurt and then portray as chronically insane mess with zero education. Because hey, after all, other people have sort of gaslit and defamed me, so hey, it's... And if anybody wants to say that I have done irrational things as well, yeah, I have. And at least I admit it, and at least I know it, and at least I acknowledge it. And at the very least, I exclusively did that in reaction to the fact that even after I had sought communication to various people, after I had repetitively asked for help, after I had repetitively said where the problem is, and after I instead had been systematically ghosted, gaslit, and unjustly accused. And that not just once, but again and again from several different parties. Yeah, severely. And severely after that, I then began to act increasingly irrational, to intentionally mirror people their utterly harmful and damaging actions towards me. And if there's anybody out there whom I unjustly accused, to whom I was a real bitch because of that, then in all seriousness, especially if there had not been any chance for us to communicate in a non-violent, rational way, I am deeply sorry that I did that. However, given the situation that I was in, I'm not going to take accountability or blame. I am deeply sorry if I affected people badly. However, simultaneously, there are significantly more people who ought to be deeply sorry for how they affected me, and not a single one of them has stepped up and apologized in any way at all.